to, at the bottom, it says an astonishing happiness. So let's have a volunteer to read it. Okay, how about you?
Sure. 162. Which paragraph? Okay. Did you click the start button? An astonishing happiness. Hearing the word salvation, most people cannot help thinking that it must mean some sort of change in our mental state, that we become dauntlessly positive thinkers or are able to endure suffering with a bit more grace, or some such thing. One writer has surmised as follows: then what changes? Possibly it is that even though we go on suffering, we are able to bear it. I am inconclusive on the matter because I believe that sometimes even those who have gained real gain real faith can lose the strength to live. That has to be accepted as something not in one's own discretion. Others apparently think that it means we are liberated from egotism, and become indifferent to the lure of money and things, living aloof to the temptations of the world. The Chinese sage Lao Tzu declared that happiness consists in knowing the sufficiency. In Japan, a book called Seihin no Shiso, The Philosophy of Honest Poverty, became a bestseller after the market crash based on the bursting of the land price bubble. Many people believe that the only way to be happy is to suppress desire. Some indeed believe that unless all desire is rooted out, happiness can never be achieved. But in his debate with Socrates, Callicles mocked such people, saying that those who want nothing cannot truly said to be happy. For then stones and dead men will be the happiest of all. If we spend our lives attempting to satisfy our limitless appetites, we can never succeed, and we are doomed to suffer throughout our lives. No philosophy or way of thinking can show us the way out of this dilemma. Only Shinran pointed to the existence of an astonishing sort of happiness that we can experience without reducing or eliminating our besetting passions, likening it to the brightness of a cloudy day. Beneath the clouds and fog, all is light and not darkness. This analogy represents another effort by Shinran to do the impossible, use words to portray portray a world beyond words or imagination. Words cannot express true salvation, twofold revelation. But since there are no other means of communication, he took on this impossible task.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so as you can see here, yeah, so with desires, people think we have only two options. So most people think we have to satisfy them one after another. And because we are made of desire, so to some extent we have no choice. Like when you're hungry, you have to eat, right? What else can you do? And but when you satisfy the desire for food, and then like even your favorite food, like what's your favorite food, Patty? Not taco. No taco. Peaches. It's a typical Japanese response. They name a fruit. Okay, yeah, peaches. So, yeah, but even if you love peaches, if you eat peaches every day, after a while you don't care for peaches so much, see? And This is another problem with fulfilling desires in a blind way. Not to fulfill your hunger, but just to get pleasure out of fulfilling desires. Then people come up with very sophisticated ways of satisfying these desires. So peach alone, then you might be interested in peach flavored ice cream or peach pie. And, there are countless other products that satisfy that, craving for peaches, which is okay. But when it goes out of control, we become kind of a slave to our desires. And desires start, driving us here and there. Then we end up suffering. Like, for example, we can gain a lot of weight because of desire for food, right? That's one problem. If we don't know sufficiency or moderation, the middle way, if we don't know where to stop. So that's one problem with trying to get happiness only from fulfilling these desires. They become the source of pain. Yuchi wants to say something. Yes. So, like, I had a friend when I was a university student. Every time she had a big meal, because in school you go out always, you eat out with people, and you pay a lot of money, so you want to eat a lot. But then she would feel so guilty. The next day she had to go jogging, like for an hour at least to burn that off. So, yeah. So if we only fulfill them, then we're not going to get happiness, real happiness, just by fulfilling them. And this is one thing capitalism, invests on. They know our weaknesses. They know how we are made of these desires. So they try to stimulate our desires one after another. So even though you have a good car, it's taking you from point A to point B. They have all these commercials for a newer car that makes you feel like maybe I should change my car. And then you go through, even though your car is still functional, you buy a new car and then you have to work so hard to pay it off and things like that. So to only think that this is the only way to experience joy, but by fulfilling desires one after another, we only become a slave to them. And Buddhism teaches we cannot find real happiness only relying on these. So some people say because they cause a lot of trouble and torment, let's eliminate them. But that's not going to bring them happiness either. Only stones and dead people have no desires, we read. Only trees. So are trees happier than humans? you know, just at the mercy of the wind. So that cannot be. So actually, that's one very unique aspect of Master Shinran's teachings. He's one of the only thinkers and philosophers who actually had the experience at the age of 29. He didn't know about this wonderful happiness until he experienced it. He was actually 29 years old. And we have an animated movie about that too. So this is very unique to Pure Land Buddhism. Yeah, and anyone can experience it by listening. And so now we have another story to tell us how, when desires are channeled in the right direction, we can actually benefit not only ourselves but others. Yeah, thank you, Patty. It's in the other book. Something you forgot along the way. So maybe we read two stories. So one is if we become a slave to our desires. So page 7, how much is enough? The farmer who was overcome by greed. So do we have a volunteer? But you have to come first. Okay, no Guru Sensei wants to read. Page 7 of something you forgot.
How much is enough? The farmer who has overcome by greed. There is a story by Leo Tolstoy about a land-hungry farmer who half of the country So vast that land could be had for the asking. He traveled there and found it was true. The inhabitant and the chief all welcomed him, and the chief told him that he could help himself to any piece of land where he wanted, as much as he could get around on foot in the single day. There is one condition, as a chief. You must start at sunrise and return to the place where you started before the sun sets. Start anywhere you you like and go around marking the corners. Go as far and as wide as you please, but come back on time, or you will gain nothing. That night, the farmer lay awake with uh, excitement and the thought of the vast tract awaking him. In the morning, he set off just as dawn, dawn was breaking and soon settled on the starting point for his run. Gradually, his pace quickened to the trot. After going several miles, he marked another corner. Eventually, he broke into run, driving by the knowledge that the faster he went, the more land would be his. He came to what would have been a reasonable turning place and passed it by. He greed spurring, spurring him on. And finally, surprised to see the sun already high overhead, he marked the last corner and began to run back to the starting point. He barely took time to eat lunch. By mid-afternoon, he was worn out, but he threw off his coat and boots and kept running. The sky was red with sunset. His feet were hot and bloody, and his heart was at the bursting point. But if he collapsed now, all his effort would be for nothing. He ran for all he was worth. His eyes are on goal. His effort was rewarded, for he made it back just in time, only to fall over stone dead. His servant dug, uh, dug him a grave and buried him in it. In the end, all the land he needed was a plot 6 feet by 2. Tolstoy's farmer is not alone. Greed killed us all.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Does this story sound familiar? Yeah, I think we've been there at some point in life when we were younger, perhaps. Yeah, I remember my heart was almost bursting trying to arrive at one of my classes on campus at university. So you had to go. I mean, there's no choice. You had to do it. But sometimes we push ourselves excessively too much because, especially as a young person, you feel invincible. It's not going to happen to me. So we push our limits. And yeah. But, so the problem here is the greed is desires. It is bottomless. So we cannot live only for desires to fulfill them one after another because they are bottomless. It's like pit, it has no bottom, pit. Some people refer to their stomach as that. But yeah, it's the same concept. And yeah, so by listening to the teachings of Buddha, as our mind becomes nurtured by the power or the wonder of Buddhism, our desires become the source of our happiness. So let us aim for this and listen to the teachings more. So I don't expect you to fully grasp this today, but just, uh, becoming aware of what desires are and doing more self-reflection within yourself to look at desires within yourself. So that's what it means to go forward on this horizontal path toward this noble goal that anyone can experience happiness in this lifetime. So today that's all the time we had. Now we're gonna chant the song of gratitude. You two will chant for us in English. I'll give you the chanting supplement. It's the very last page of the supplement, so we will sing it. Okay, we sing it right. Okay.
The grace and virtue of Amida's great compassion, I must repay, though I work myself to the bone. The grace and virtue of the teachers who led me, I must repay, though I wear myself to be. The grace and virtue of Amida's great compassion, I must repay, though I work myself to the bone. The grace and virtue of the teachers who led me, I must repay, though I wear myself to be.
Okay, so it was great to have you all with us. And the next Thursday class here will be October 27th on a Thursday. I'll put it on Meetup too. And Sunday we have the class, and then we will be gone for 3 weeks. So have a good time and yeah, drive safely. Okay, good night.